So let's be completely honest about how a journey like this actually begins. Day 1 to day 10 of any major fitness challenge isn't full of deep life lessons. It's driven by pure, raw motivation. For me personally, it started with a simple, practical desire. I just want to get fit again. I want to move my body and feel a little bit stronger. And honestly, it's just a great feeling to walk around with a solid pump. I decided it was time to stop overthinking, get back on it, and just see how long I could actually go. I didn't want to just walk onto the gym floor blind. If you want real results, you have to train with an actual target. You can't just be rolling around from machine to machine doing random things and just hoping for the best. For this journey, my target was hyper focused. I wanted to intentionally build out my physique and sculpt a powerful V taper. Because of that, every single exercise in my routine was strictly predicated on hitting a specific target. Now, from what I know about training, DOMS is always waiting, especially when you come back from a long period of time of not working out. That deep, crippling muscle soreness will destroy your consistency if you rush in too fast. Now, to protect my momentum, I made sure to modulate things from the very first session. I intentionally went pretty light to ease my body back into motion without actually breaking it. Because I forced myself to hold back and keep it light, it created a secondary wave of motion for the next week. I was completely itching to finally step up and move some heavy weights toward that V taper goal. But despite my best efforts, there was one major exception where the DOMs absolutely caught up to me, and that was leg day. The legs are such a massive, heavy muscle group. Because I have long limbs, I have to isolate my quads specifically by utilizing a narrow and low stance on my actual leg press. And I'm the first to admit, I still have a lot of development to go on my legs. So I really targeted them, and man, they actually really, really got hit hard. Other than those sore legs, my only rule during this initial phase was simple: show up at the exact same time every single day. There was no complex strategy yet. Just a guy establishing a proper routine, chasing a clear physical target, and riding that clean wave of initial energy and motivation and dopamine. But as day 10 approached, the easy momentum started to run out. And I realized I was coming right up against my personal historic record for consecutive days worked out. When you cross into that second phase, like day 11 through day 20, something very interesting happens to your psychology. For me, right around day 12 or day 13, I officially cracked my personal record. And honestly, it wasn't some massive emotional milestone. It was just a quiet realization: oh, I passed it. Cool. But right after that, around day 14, the initial novelty of starting a challenge completely wore out. The motivation was gone. The superficial excitement was officially dead. But right when the first wave of motivation vanished, something interesting happened. A second, much more powerful loop of momentum took its place. I stopped chasing the high of a new routine because I started experiencing the massive practical benefits of real physical momentum. Suddenly, the deep soreness was gone. I was regaining my strength, but more importantly, my mind was shifting. I noticed I was sharper. My execution was faster. That sluggishness, both mentally and physically, just evaporated. I found myself trapped in way less analysis paralysis. Think about how most men live today. They get stuck between two or three business ideas or two or three paths, and they treat it like a dilemma. They sit there analyzing, overthinking, and doing absolutely nothing. But because I was pushing myself so hard physically, my willingness to just, step into the arena skyrocketed. Instead of just, overthinking my ideas, I developed an attack mindset, an execution mindset. I started executing on every idea as quickly as possible, allowing the winner to naturally manifest itself through the raw data of my own execution. When you consistently do something hard in the gym, first thing in the morning, your daily obligations stop looking like mountains, stop feeling like mountains, stop feeling like you're trying to climb mountains. They look small. Your willingness to do more increases, your energy demands higher output, and you realize that physical motion is the direct trigger for mental clarity. Now, by the time you hit the final stretch, day 21 through day 30, you start to notice a little bit of fatigue creeping in. And it's nothing crazy. And it's definitely not immobilizing or stopping you from moving, but it's just enough for you to notice because your body isn't fully used to this consecutive level of daily output yet. But if you look online during this exact phase, every general fitness influencer will start screaming about CNS fatigue or any average Joe who wants to just comment for the sake of it. They'll blow a tiny bit of tiredness way out of proportion, quoting clinical studies telling you, you got to back off, take a deload week, and listen to your feelings. But you need to look at how the data is actually gathered. The average fitness science study is conducted on the average guy. And let's be completely honest. The average guy in modern society is not doing too well. He's absolutely mediocre, if not below that. If you want to be a high performer, why on earth would you compare yourself to a baseline that represents the absolute bottom? If you scale the average man back 20 or 30 years, today's baseline would be considered a historical joke. The bar for men has been set so incredibly low that the system treats a little bit of, daily habit like a medical emergency. They act like if you don't take a rest day for 2 days in a row, it's completely catastrophic. Relax. It's not like I'm bungee jumping without a strap. We need to calm down with the pseudoscience. You don't need to sit around like a compromised 60-year-old just because it's a non-heavy lifting day. Okay? You can do some cardio, you can do some sculpting. You work on a smaller muscle group. And you can keep your body moving. It's not a problem. And the thing is, I refuse to let poor science and internet buzzwords, put a ceiling on my own potential. As men, I chose to test my own limits and find out the truth for myself. And I told myself, I'm going to go out on my shield. I'm going to find this out for myself as a man. If CNS fatigue happens, then it happens. But guess what? It didn't. That was their limitation. The fatigue remained minor, and my body adapted because my mind refused to give it an exit. As a man, you are built to sweat every single day. You are built to challenge yourself, to hunt, and to produce. Our forefathers carried the entire communities and families on their backs through pure, unyielding endurance. I looked at the massive benefits I was reaping by day 30, and I realized that this couldn't just be a temporary challenge or a temporary record that I'm trying to set. This had to become a permanent lifestyle. Look here, the biggest reason the system pushes you to constantly rest and take it easy is because rest is the ultimate momentum trap. Momentum is everything in life. The second you buy into the excuse and take that unnecessary rest day, there is a massive psychological chance that it turns into a rest week, then a rest month, and then bye-bye. You aren't back for the rest of the year. Unacceptable. The system wants to keep you comfortable because comfort makes you weak, and weak men are easy to control. But if you have massive aspirations, if you want to accomplish huge goals in your life, in your business, in leadership, and everything outside of fitness, you cannot adopt the habits of people you do not want to become. These soft, compromising actions are simply not conducive to the man you want to be. So if you're watching this right now and you're stuck in that loop where you quit every single 2 weeks because your body feels tired, I need you to hear me clearly. Stop looking at the massive mountain of 60 or 90 days. Stop letting sophisticated excuses rob you of your momentum. Be a man, step into the arena and find out where your actual limits are. Don't wait for the next Monday or a perfect set of circumstances that will never come. Eliminate your options, focus entirely on the daily micro wins and just win the 24 hours right in front of your face. Just win this day. If you want the raw, unfiltered truth about what it actually takes to build real discipline and execute at a higher level, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And let's keep moving, guys. Let's keep moving. Let's keep executing. Let's keep getting better. Let's keep improving. And I'll see you guys in the next one.